Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima. Let's just not watch the videos that constantly come up here because they have this annoying tendency to do that whenever I need to record a video. This is Kirby Air Ride. Why am I playing Kirby Air Ride? Like really, it's a fantastic question. I was writing an article for Exclusively Games based around the idea of kart races and what games had gone head to head with the juggernaut that is Mario Kart and basically lived to talk about it. And Kirby Air Ride was the only game that really went head to head with Double Dash. And I've heard of it before, but I've never played it. I was a little surprised to find out the people who made Super Smash Bros. Melee made this. Because, well, that's just kind of a thing that surprises me. But it becomes really obvious that they made it when you look at these bloody menus. This is so Super Smash Bros. Melee that it's almost obnoxious. You got some options here. Excuse me. But it's mainly just, basic stuff. All the stuff you want to do with your graphics in the actual emulator, because this is being emulated by a Dolphin, the latest version as of the recording of this video, which means by the time you see it, it's probably going to be out of date because they're nightly builds. But it runs the game pretty damn well. I've got the Uber shaders on so it doesn't stutter anywhere near as much. I've got the internal resolution turned up so it should be around 1080p. Basically, the game looks great because, as people like Nintendo have proven time and time again, style will outpace technological capability every single time. So, well, there's actually a lot to this game. There are 3 modes, and 2 of them are pretty similar, but otherwise completely different. And one of them is just, like, off the wall, even for this game, but with that said, we're just going to go play Air Ride for a bit, which is obviously the main mode, quote-unquote. And it is basically just a kart racing game, but with some really weird shit going on. We're not going to worry about watching the video down there, because it's just a how-to-play video. Notably, it's got this system that's kind of like Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS, I think. It was one of the entries where you get a grid, you finish an objective, and it shows you the goals for all the objectives around it, and you unlock unlockables via certain of these objectives. So I've got the Jet Star here. There's a few other vehicles, character colors, and what have you. And here's the best records for time attack and free run and the stadium. We'll get to that. It doesn't actually track the main race mode. What's interesting is the game settings, where you've got a few things you can change, like the recommended amount of time or laps, because yes, you can race just full-on distance in this game for some reason, and you do actually have to race full-on distance in order to get some of the unlockables. Character damage, speed help, which is actually kind of nice for helping you get back up to speed. Enemies, which is actually kind of important, so I'm not going to bother turning them off. It's neat that you can turn down the speed if you want to. That's kind of cool. And you can also turn off the course selection, which I actually recommend that you do because it helps with practice a lot. It doesn't apply if you go to like free run for the time attack or just free run for best laps or best 3 laps, which is nice. It's a nice option to have, I suppose. And you also do have to do time attacks and free runs in order to do some of the objectives down here in the checklist, but we're just going to hit start game. For some reason it's showing me that again, despite the fact that I've already been playing this a fair bit on this save file. So, you can pick between a fair few different kinds of stars, because this is Kirby we're talking about, so they're stars and not karts. And the funny thing about them is that they actually change the gameplay in some really strange ways. The Warp Star is the one that you start with, and it's basically just your all-out average car. It works fine. Then you've got, like, minor changes, like your Winged Star, which isn't great on the ground, but if you get it in the air, it speeds up a bit. Then you've got the Wagon Star, which has no boost meter whatsoever, which we'll get into. But it also handles like a goddamn tank, so it's actually pretty quick. Then you've got the Swerve Star, which is basically just you have to charge up your boost not only to actually move, but to turn. It's one of the fastest in the game, but it's also one of the hardest. The Slick Star, which goes all over the place. The Wheelie Bike, which is literally just a wheel for some reason. This shit gets weird, man. And thankfully, they'll be able to show me what this looks like. I'm going to put the CPU level up to 4, because that's where I've been for most of the game. You can put it as high or low as you want. It doesn't seem to affect the goals in any way, but still, nice that you can do that. Instant load time. That honestly just feels kind of strange. I don't know, like, who managed to program this to have no load times on a GameCube. I mean, the GameCube was never particularly bad about load times, but man, that's actually impressive. I don't know how they pulled that one off, especially with how good some of these courses look. Like, there's very clearly next to nothing going on outside of like the skyboxes or what have you in this course at the very least, but the actual courses themselves look fantastic, so there's really not that much of a problem with that going on there. But I really should start talking about the game before the race is over, because there's only 2 laps on most of the courses, and those laps can go by pretty damn quick. So I suggest being rather quick about explaining things if you're like me and a bit slow to the If you're like me and you're a bit slow to the uptake, because we just finished a lap. Actually, a really good lap on my part. I'm doing surprisingly well. Although I don't know if it's me doing surprisingly well or the AI just having a bit of a shit of it, because it got some pretty ineffective vehicles on the random select. But anyway, this is Kirby Air Ride. It is a racing game. I call it a kart racing game, and to be fair, it kind of is, but it also kind of isn't, because it plays in a really strange way. And this mainly, but not entirely, comes down to the controls. You see, you don't have an accelerate or a brake. What you have is it's a boost slash drift slash hit the ground slash all sorts of other things button. And this button, it's basically context sensitive is what I'm trying to say. So if you're on the ground like this, just holding the A button will send you into a drift. And that drift will slowly charge up a boost meter, but you lose speed very gradually as you do, so you need to be very careful with it. It's not something that you can pop out on literally every turn, or like snaking on a Mario straight away. It's something that you have to be very conservative with, because if you're not, you're basically just going to get your shit rocked. You'll also use it at the beginning here to build up your initial turbo. You can also use it to suck up enemies, and enemies in this game serve as the game's power-ups. You get normal dudes like that one, right? Just that random dude on that bike, and that dude there that I just ran into. And is that a Waddle Dee? I haven't played very many Kirby games, so I admit to not being particularly familiar with the names of the enemies in this series, but I think that's a Waddle Dee. You suck them up, and you can shoot them out like stars, but there are also very special kinds of enemies that you can get, and they will often give you pickups just like the game, it's just like the mainline Kirby games, like that swordsman there. Makes you look a bit like Link, gives you a big ass sword, and lets you go to town on your enemies. That's cool. You can also get this bastard, which basically just sends spikes out in every direction in front of you. Very good if you manage to get up close and personal with someone, although it means I'm going to have to hit the ground and try and get some speed up. There we go. Back in front. There's also ones like Flight. They'll let you pick up a fair bit of speed and just... Oh, shot me. There's also ones that'll let you fly around, pick up a fair bit of speed, and just kind of skip difficult parts of a course if you manage to pick it up at the right time. There's also this little shock dude here. If you charge him up enough, it'll let you do more intense attacks, which is cool. Which is why I'm trying to hold off on using him as much as humanly possible, because that would sting. There's a few pickups like that. Surprisingly ineffective, I've found. Sometimes they're just a little bit shit in that sense. Like, they just don't really do as much as you might hope for them to. It's not great, if I'm being honest. That didn't end very well for me right there. I always have trouble at that last little bit of that track in particular, just because they always seem to get in front of me there. It's alright, third isn't terrible. And you can still pull off some challenges if you come less than first, but, well, it's not very likely. So yes, you've got your pickups and you've got your drifting, but you can also use it to grind on rails. So if you've got rails that are going in, well, any particular direction really, you can use them and you'll often take things like shortcuts or you'll pick up speed. Like you can see a rail there in the distance. We will eventually need to use that rail, so I won't bother going on too much about it, but it is something that you will eventually need to use. There it is. Thankfully, the link pickup just lets you immediately hit someone if you get too close to them, which is nice. Rail, missed it. Missed the second rail. Shit, they're way ahead now. Yeah, your opportunities for getting boosts come and go very quickly in this game, trust me. You need to be very good if you want to stand a decent chance. I'm doing alright, all things considered, but I could definitely be doing better. There are rails everywhere, and some of them are required, some of them are shortcuts. Some of them, in the case of like one particular lava stage, which we'll probably have to play eventually, knowing my luck, are definitely not shortcuts and are there just kind of to screw you over. Man, that's a good sense of speed. There's also a fourth usage, which are ground objects. So you've seen the majority of them already. There's not only your regular old-fashioned ground boosters here, which just give you a big boost to speed, no matter what anyone says, but they also give you some... They also have switches. And switches on the ground can actually affect the way the world works. So you might end up running into a... You might end up like pressing A on a ground switch and having the ground change in front of you. Like back in the sand track that we played, there was the little area that opened up that showed off the, that added a boost path so that we could use it to get a little bit of extra speed. Just little things like that. But this is all controlled, remember, using the one button. You've got the A button, or if you feel like it, playing it that way, you can also use the L or the R buttons on the GameCube controller, which on the controller that I'm on are the left trigger and right trigger, because I'm playing on a 360 pad. So, despite the fact that the ground racing is very complicated, because you've got the combination of needing to know when... Oh, god damn it. You've got the combination of needing to know when it's effective to drift, and when it's effective to just take the corner normally. Yeah, I totally haven't won this. That damn corner screwed me up right at the end there. I know this track well enough. I should have known that was a full-on U-turn, but... Okay, whatever. Yeah, not only is the game extremely complicated, thanks to the fact that you've got everything from, you know, having to do your drifts, to having to hit boost pads on the ground, to having to do little switches in the courses, to landing on rails, to forcing yourself out of the air as quickly as possible, to all of that good stuff. Basically just having everything happen on the one button is not only surprisingly complicated, but it's also really simple. Which is what I think is this game's saving grace, because if everything you had to do in this game was on a different face button, I don't think the game would be anywhere near as good. Now, this doesn't come with its own... This doesn't come with problems. Well, this does come with problems, right? Like, for example, if you wanted to, like, suck up an enemy, but you also want to hit a ground pad, if you want to do, like, a bunch of different things that are kind of conflicting all at the same time. Like, say, you're in the air and you want to use a power-up, but you don't want to slam straight to the ground, because that'll just drain your speed. Well, that can be a little bit difficult. But it's so simple that it remains really easy to play. Even when you're just starting out and the game is, like, extremely difficult. I'm gonna switch cars just for a little bit of a change of pace. Terrible course to do it on, I'll point out, but okay. So as you can see, this car is a fair bit slower in its turns, but as soon as I hit the air, I get a fair boost of speed out of it. And it stays that way until I hit the ground, so you want to be in the air as much as humanly possible. it just remains simple. Even when you're first starting out, the game is really hard, the AI is kicking your ass, and they're speeding past you at the speed of a bloody bullet being driven by a train, whatever the hell they say in Superman Land. It still manages to work really well, even for beginners, and the game maintains this control scheme throughout the entire thing, even the other two modes. So it ends up being really easy to pick up because you never need to worry about more than one set of controls. Left, right, and boost. There is a couple of other things I haven't mentioned, like if you tap the control stick to the left and right relatively quickly, you'll do what's called a quick spin, and the quick spin will... You'll do what's called a quick spin, and what the quick spin will do is it will deal some damage to enemies that are nearby, but when it comes to at least this racing part of the game, it doesn't do anywhere near enough damage to like really be used as like a proper sort of strategy. But outside of that, the controls remain really simple, and even when I was getting the shit kicked out of me, it was really easy to understand where I went wrong. It's pretty damn easy to tell when you probably could have taken a turn easier, you could have put in a little bit more effort into... Jesus, guys. You know, knocking me in the air probably helped me out there because of the fact that I'm on the star that gets more speed when it airs. But sure, game, you do you. Alright, let's go with the swerve star, because this is a ridiculous star. I'm going to put all the CPU levels up just for the purpose of demonstration. Oh, fuck me, it's this one. Of course it's this one, but yeah, it's this one. I absolutely hate this course because there's just so many, like, turns and bits of bullshit the AI somehow manages to use against me every single time. Even when I'm on, like, things like the swerve star, I don't stand much of a chance. But yeah, as I said, this star is fucking weird because you can't turn it, and you are constantly accelerating, but you don't really get much out of boosting. But you have to boost in order to affect what direction you're going in, and it's so bizarre. I kind of appreciate the fact that they all fuck with the controls in some weird way. It's honestly just that slight bit odd. Especially when you're in the air like that. See what I mean when I say it's a bit of a pain in the ass to deal with? This course, at the very least. There's a challenge in this which makes you hit every single boost pad in the level and then come first. Which is ridiculous because there's like 15 of them. Oh look, I'm the bird, I can fly now. And still somehow they all manage to get ahead of me. There's got to be something about this track that I'm missing, but for the life of me, I don't know what it is. I just keep getting my ass handed to me. What really helps the game out in, like, its longevity, though, the game's only got 9 tracks, and you don't even have all of them unlocked when you start. You've got 8, which I know isn't much of a difference, but it's a pretty big difference for a game that only has 9 tracks. I gotta tell ya. See, I don't know how the hell he managed to pick up that much speed, because I'm on one of the fastest stars in the game as far as I'm aware, and he still somehow manages to get ahead of me on that piece of shit that can't even turn properly. But, okay. Let's go back to my creme de la creme and see if I do any better. Frozen Hillside, okay. But yeah, it's helped out by all of the track designs, which I've been playing a lot of SSX lately, and the one thing that SSX has going for it, in the grand scheme of things, is its mountain designs, where it's got these massive mountains that have... It's got these massive mountains that have a ton of shortcuts, secret paths, little nooks and crannies that you can go down, And this game feels like that concept, but minimized a little bit, so there's not a massive amount of like bullshit going on in terms of like different paths you can take, most of which you can't even see sometimes because the game can be a little bit of a dick like that. But it still manages to have a fair few extra little paths and little things that you can just use to accelerate yourself, like the previously mentioned rails, little ground switches, all of that stuff that they got going on. As such, the tracks really do feel like they've got a fair amount of mastery to them, which is great, because you definitely need that for a game that's only got 9 tracks to race on. The developers knew exactly what they were doing, is what I'm trying to say. So you've got a simple to pick up, but hard to master system, combined with easy to understand, but hard to truly get your head around tracks. And a big set of vehicles that all handle the courses almost completely differently in terms of overall strategy, but some are definitely more effective than others. Like, for example, something that would curve really effectively is actually quite useful on this track because of all of the big-ass bends it's got going for it. Meanwhile, there are probably some other courses that have tons of air in them that would be great for the Winged Star. Things like that. So there is a absolutely massive roof of... There's an absolutely massive ceiling of player skill to be reached here. And it's great. Because it makes the game really satisfying just on a base level to succeed at. Nice. I didn't even think I'd get some challenges in this video, but I did. So I'll live with it. Why not? Let's go for one more. We've almost played all the tracks. I haven't unlocked the secret hidden 9th track, but I've played like most of them here already. So you get a decent idea of what they're like. And I'm actually doing like okay against level 5 AIs, which is actually pretty good for me. I was having trouble getting past level 4s earlier on when I was practicing for this video. But yeah, overall, this part of the game is really satisfying because it's so simple, but once you pick it up and start to understand its mechanics, you really appreciate just how much effort they've put into it. And just how much fun it is to race. Like, everyone controls so, like, fantastically under your fingers. It's really well done. Just grab that bird. Give myself a little bit of an easier time through the opening section, which, to be fair, isn't really where it needs to be, but okay. You can see that the rail gives you a massive speed boost, so it's almost always worth the time to hit them. Boom. I have no idea how far I am ahead, but I'm gonna try not to squander the lead. Also, yeah, tracks like this that just give you different routes to go on all the time. It's a little weird. It's cool, but it's a little weird. Just a bit, not too much. Ah, fucker got ahead of me. But I got a rail. And a boost. And a rail. And a bird. Yes! Yeah, that was a toughie. Don't you just love the little bouncing of their heads? Finished in first place with wing ability, that's cool. Fair enough, I never thought I'd get half of those, but I did. Oh, what the hell, one more, and I'll display what this bloody thing looks like, although it's given all of them warp stars. Fuck you, let's do that again, thank you. So we get to display what this thing looks like. It also helps that the game performs really well too. I mean, obviously this might be an emulator thing, but I imagine that this game would have been torn apart if its frame rate was terrible. And it runs really damn well. So, yeah, it's super smooth. The controls are extremely pleasant to ride around and feel with. They're very simple, so it's easy to pick up and play. So even though the game does have some pretty high difficulty behind it, at the same time, it does a really good job in making that high difficulty accessible, which I love. The action is fast-paced, remains interesting, and has a ton of variation in the forms of things like the pickups you can get and the tracks they've got going on. Like, they've only got 9 tracks, but all the tracks are so thoroughly different from each other that I remain really impressed by it. And its overall sense of just general speed and handling. The AI can be set to whatever you want, so you can scale up at your own pace. There's a fair amount of challenges to do, and it's just really enjoyable. Not to mention that you can play it in up to 4-player multiplayer on LAN, on GameCube, because of course you can do that. Yeah, it wasn't really like, oh wow, look, tied for the same millisecond with the other third place player. Ain't that something? But yeah, based on that alone, I really would recommend Kirby Air Ride to basically anyone. It's harsh, but it's fair. It's got really simple controls that makes it really easy to get into. It's super fast paced. It's got a lot of ways that it plays around with the gameplay. The track variety, while low in number, is great in just breadth. And it just does a really good job of being a really interesting take on a sort of genre that is similar but not exactly to kart racing. And it's funny that I say that because despite the fact that that's basically good enough for a game on its own, we got 2 more modes to go through. So this is Top Ride. Top Ride it basically plays the same way, but it has a couple of things different other than, well, obviously there's the top-down view, of course. And you've got roughly the same set of rules going on here. We're going to turn the course selection off because of course we are. So if we hit start game, so they're all going to pick the free star, but we can change that to the steer star, but honestly it doesn't really matter. It only really matters for us. So I'm going to pick the steer star because those are the 2 different ways of controlling things, and I'm more used to playing the game with the steer star controls, turn left and right, instead of pointing the stick where you want to go. Trust me, it makes sense once you actually see the game. So yeah, it's basically Kirby Air Ride, but top down. You've got your same boosting around corners, you've got the same things on the floor that you need to hit by pressing a button with your boost. You've got things to smash through, you've got items to pick up and use. All of the good stuff in this weird little 5-minute friendly party style game. Like seriously, you'd see this shit in Mario Party and no one would bat an eye, but since it's here in Kirby's Air Ride, it just makes me think, excuse me, Sunshine? It's actually a fair bit easier than the actual Air Ride, I'll tell you that much, because, well, there are things like that. You really need to turn the handicap up on the AI to really get it to be anywhere near competent. We'll just turn the CPU level up to 4, and then we'll just hit start and go for another race. It's nowhere near as complicated as a result, but I still enjoy it. Nothing wrong with it. Not doing so well this time, I'll admit. Look at the size of that Kirby. Funny thing is about this mode in particular, that explosions can actually send you over barriers, which might actually result in you getting a way bigger shortcut than you might have had other... Flat Kirby, nice. Oh, did I just lose by like a millisecond? I did! Look at all those times though! 54-16, 54-20, 54-21. God damn. That's a bit of a dick. So it's definitely beginner friendly, much more so than Kirby Air Ride, but the driving still manages to be satisfying. You've even got like the quick spin for attacking enemies if you feel up to it. Probably wouldn't do that in this particular mode because there's so many items around that let you do the same thing anyway that it just seems kind of pointless at the end of the day. Oh, bollocks. Still good fun though. Really good if you actually want to like teach a kid or something the basics of air ride without throwing them in the deep end. Because it, again, if you put them on the steer star, the game basically handles the same anyway. So interesting concept. You can play this one 4 players as well, although you wouldn't really need to land together 4 GameCubes in order to actually make this work, but technically you could. Actually, I don't know if you can. It's entirely possible they don't. I never even looked in that menu. I just know that you can land, and I know damn well you would be able to in at least... Ooh. I know damn well that you would be able to, in the very least, in the other 2 modes. Oh look, a landmine. Oh look, I made the turn too early and I paid for it. Oh fuck. I didn't even realize I went back past the turn. It's that one U-turn there that always gets me. Every single time. On this one in particular, it's always that goddamn U-turn. They always manage to completely skip it. Still managed to win anyway, but there you go. It's a nice little side distraction, I will admit. Good for getting used to the idea of braking and drifting without having to go into the potentially frustrating, not massively frustrating, but potentially frustrating air ride mode. So with that said, let's play City Trial. Now, if you've played Super Smash Bros. On the Wii U specifically, you know what this mode is, because it's very similar to that one. So the idea is, everyone gets a certain amount of minutes that they get to go around the city and find power-ups. And at the end of those 5 minutes, you'll be dropped into what they call a stadium, which is basically a set of rules that basically determines who's going to win the fight at the end. And this can be anything from drag racing, to going head-to-head against each other, to going head-to-head against something or someone like King Dedede. That's basically the long and the short of it. They don't let you start with any particular star because, as I said, you do have to go to the effort of... Well, I don't believe I actually said it here in this video, but I'm thinking of the bloody article that I wrote. You do actually have to go to the effort of finding other stars lying around the place as well. So you don't exactly know what it is you're going for to begin with, but you can just start picking up as many of these pickups as possible. And there are boost crates hidden around the place that you can break apart with boosts or quick spins. And there are also other vehicles lying around, and this is actually like the quickest way to try out all of these dudes. All of these little bike doohickeys, stars I should say, without actually having to go and like unlock them in the other mode first. Cute idea, if I'm being honest with you. The only downside is that you don't exactly know what you're preparing for, and this can kinda... Oh no. You fuck off. I've dealt with your shit before, I'm not dealing with it again. But yeah, you don't know exactly what it is you're preparing for until, say, like 1 minute to go. Then the game will be like, you should probably start preparing for this thing, or another thing entirely. it's nice that they give you the warning, but it'll also be nice if they hinted at it just that little bit earlier, because I ended up running into a stadium which had like which was meant for like speed, and I ended up with, whoa, Nelly. Yeah, I want that extra glide. God almighty, look how fast I'm going. You don't know whether or not you're going to end up with like having to fight each other or having to race each other. So you might spend like an entire level preparing to fight a battle of speed, only to end up accidentally having to fight a battle of, what's it called? Only to end up having to fight a battle of strength and just losing outright due to how weak you ended up. Also not helped out by the fact that you've got a bunch of power-ups that aren't particularly great for that. Or should I say power downs. All the grey ones will just instantly lower your stats. Or, well, rather, whatever stat they are. The only stat that you want to get the grey ones for is the weight, because it lets you glide faster if you're lighter. You can also go to the effort of attacking other people in this, like, city, because you can see them right there. They're just out there ready to be attacked. Which is, like, cool, I guess, but if you actually attack them, you'll... Oh, fuck. Run away. If you try and attack them and they attack you back, you might end up losing, like, a lot of your pickups. Which is not great. Not great at all. For example, I just got the shit beat out of me, and I lost some pickups for it. Because I held onto a bomb for too long. I did not follow the sage advice of Batman. It can be a little shit. Then again, something like that can happen, which is great. Where everyone gets hit in the face, but they don't seem to have dropped anything. I see numbers on the side of a machine. That usually means that we're going to have to go for the ability to glide more than anything else, because that means that we'll often have to fly straight at a wall of numbers, which we will then need to try and score the highest on, like monkey target style. So nothing really related to offense. Really shouldn't have picked that up. That's going to screw me over so bad. Not screw you guys. Great, there's a glide power up there, and I'm not going to be able to... Huh? Whoop, I just walked straight into that. Fucker! You got it before I did. What a little shit! To be fair, I did bring that one on myself. I just wandered, like, straight into the... Oh, is that what I think it is? Let's get off this and hop on that. I'm pretty sure that's the glide star. But whatever it is, it's pretty fucking slow. Oh well. Whatever it is, I've got it, and I'm gonna have to use it in the fight. There's all your stats. I got a lot of glide. That might actually do me a favor. Although the bloody giant box on wheels that he's got on the bottom right there has a fair bit of glide as well, so that might not help him. Fly into the number board and earn points. Easy enough. Bang. I have no idea how this thing's going to handle in the air. One way or another. We're about to find out. Come on, 50. Fuck. Right, that's not going to end well for me. I don't even have the glide I need to get to the fucking board. That's really going to suck. Here's the opening and closing 100. It's down the bottom there. I need that if I want any sort of... Okay, apparently I picked a lead brick to go for this challenge. And I still somehow managed to come second. Open up the pitfall in the forest, and I didn't even see what that other challenge was. So, those boards are actually completely separate between modes, which is actually kind of neat. So if I just go back here, so if I go to Records Checklist, you'll see that they're actually completely different, separate boards. Enter a race with 3 CPU players and do damage to all of them in the city. That's kind of neat. And I actually have the ability to check off a box of my choice. And there are some big rewards to be found if you put in the effort, which is kind of nice. But yeah, let's do one more game of this. It's a neat idea for a battle mode, and clearly they thought the same, because this is basically Smash Run, just did in the gameplay of Air Ride. Which is absolutely fine with me. Nothing wrong with that concept at all. Not screw it. I don't care what you are, but you're gonna be better than what I've got. Very low HP. Top speed, defense, come on, come on. Top speed, that's cool. Let's hope that I, you know what, fuck it. Giant box on wheels, why not? It can't boost, but it somehow manages to be surprisingly decent. We'll see how it does. Where the fuck did that go? Did he take it? That piece of shit. Yeah, you saw me coming, didn't ya? Okay, so that clearly makes your, really shouldn't have picked that up. This clearly makes, the tornado clearly makes your quick spins way more powerful than they should be. I mean, cool. Also, yeah, I just completely called that guy on his bullshit. Let's take that health. Whatever's going on, I'm hoping it's something to do with, battling, because I'm clearly doing really well in that side of things now. You just fuck off over there, and I'm going to turn right and run away. Don't know what the fuck that bomb was there about, but I managed to avoid it by the skin of whatever teeth I've got as bloody Kirby. A machine with defensive power might be the ticket. Yes! That's exactly what I wanted to fucking hear. Let's just hope they actually give us a, let's just hope they give us a couple of events in the stadium this time, because one of the things about this, one of the things about this mode is that events can actually happen in the stadium that cause particular things to occur, just like, you know, world events and what have you. Yeah, we're just going to stick with this one for a while. Come on, love heart. There we go. Honestly, it might have been a better idea to actually stick with the box on wheels, just due to the amount of health it has. You know what? That's actually a really good idea. Screw it. We're hopping on the box of wheels. Look at my HP. It is going to take so much effort to take me out in any sort of battle whatsoever. This works for me quite well, of course. With that said, though, I'll take all of that. See how fast you drop to the ground? I will admit that this mode isn't really anywhere near as fun as Air Ride mode, though. I don't really count, like, the little top-down racing mode in this at all. Tak stole items and fled the scene. He's hiding somewhere. Interesting. Is he in... He's underground. He's gotta be. Nice. I even get all my health back. That's awesome. But yeah, I don't like this mode anywhere near as much as the other modes, because in this mode you don't really have any, like, encouragement to come together. Nowhere near as much of an encouragement to come together as, say, Air Ride, because you don't even really need to go hunt each other down. You don't do much damage to the other person, and you'll just end up losing your own items in the process if your attack ends up going pear-shaped. So you're more encouraged to just stick on your own and just try and build up your own stats and wait for the thing at the end. And I would argue that if this mode was, like, just a little bit more intense, like, make it so that, you know, you've only got, like, a minute or so to actually put in the effort of going and since you've only got a minute or so to get into the air, get all your pickups and what have you, and then you fight it out, maybe with a smaller map and more pickups, it would be much more effective in encouraging player versus player combat, at least early on. You can choose what or how to fight in the end, which is cool. Yes, those things can hurt you too. So close to having that. Let's see how I did. If this turns out to be combat focused, I've pretty much won, which is a really good sign. Fuck off! Are you serious? Oh man, that could not have been worse for me. Well. Those walls every damn time. What's wrong with me? And then you can end up with bullshit like this, where you end up fighting on the worst bloody track in the entire game. Because, screw you, I'm Irish. Or some other, like, random excuse that... Yeah, I hate this track. I really do. Yeah, I basically have to go for the boost pads on the side here if I want to stand a chance. There we go. I'm okay. I'm alright. How did I win that? How the hell did I win that? I was riding the bloody box on wheels, not any particular good star, and I still somehow managed to come in over a second ahead. At least I won something for the sound test. But yeah, I wish there was a little bit more head-to-head in City Trial, since it seems like it's really well built for the idea. It's an okay mode otherwise. I can see it being fun if you want to go up against friends every now and again, but the main road of this game really is air ride, which is absolutely excellent. And if you have the opportunity, I'd fully recommend going and checking it out, because it is legitimately a lot of fun. And I had a lot of fun playing it. I'd love to... Well, I was going to say I'd love to have friends, bring them over, and actually, like, go head-to-head with them and see who turns out the best on any particular, like, really stupid star. But at the same time... One, it's COVID-19 quarantine at the time I'm recording this, so that wouldn't be very appropriate. And two, I have no friends anyway, so it's not like it matters. Anyway, I fully recommend Kirby Air Ride if you ever get the opportunity to pick it up. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.